Tradewest presents a rare production, 1991. This is Battletoads! I originally got this game probably around 92 or 93, I guess. I don't think I got it in 91, but I might have. There's the three principal players, although you don't get to play one of them. And yes, their names are Rash, Pimple, and Zitz. Pimple is out cruising with the princess. Spoilers. Gets kidnapped by the evil Dark Queen. There's her ship. The fucking Gigantor, or whatever the hell it's called. The Colossus. The Gargantua. I think it's actually called the Gargantua. The reason that I own this game is actually a funny story. My grandmother was obsessed with frogs. She liked to collect frogs. She got all kinds of frog dolls and knickknacks and shit like that. And so, you know, she loved fucking Kermit the Frog and all that kind of shit. And probably, you know, I guess not too like. I didn't get an NES until late 1990 because I was a poor kid. And I don't know. I don't remember if I rented this or not. Is the point. I feel like she just saw it at the store and saw that it was a game about frogs. Didn't care what kind of game it was, even though if she had known what kind of game it was, she might not have bought it for me. Because it's violent and she didn't like violent games. You beat the shit out of stuff. But she just saw a game with frogs, probably thought, oh, that's neat. I'll get my grandson a game about frogs, and that'll be cool because I like frogs, and maybe he'll have fun with it. Whatever, right? I don't know how much of a thought process she actually put into it. Long story short, she bought me Battletoads, and I loved it because it was weird and it was cool. It might have honestly been the first beat-em-up I ever really played in my life, outside of possibly Final Fight or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, but this is the first one that I really got to play extensively, beyond just like one quarter and dying in a few minutes. But, as you can see, here's first level. It's a very hard game. Not in the first level, but it is rough. You know, you fight the Dark Queen and all of her army of shit-ass minions. I believe this planet is called Ragnarok. It's her fucking hideout. She kidnapped the queen, or the princess, Angelica, or whatever the hell her name is, because that's what you do if you're a bad guy, right? You kidnap princesses. One thing about this game, even though it's got, for its time, for the NES, it has great graphics. As you can hear, it has really good soundtrack, especially that awesome opening song. But the game mechanics and controls. For example, here you have to line up precisely with that shadow, and if you don't, you can't get that one up. This is the first boss. When I first played this game and got to this boss, I initially had no idea what to do. I didn't know that you could pick up those rocks. It took me a minute, but I figured it out. It's actually a super easy boss because it's easy to avoid those lasers, and all you have to do is hit him 3 times. First level, done, easy peasy. Watch out for the Saturn toad traps. And that guy is named Professor T. Vulture, or something like that. It's called the Wookiee Hole. Shout out to Star Wars and Chewbacca, even though, spoilers, there are no Wookiees here. As you can see on the side there, on the sides of the level, that's a small taste of something the NES didn't often see, although a few games did it. It's called multi-parallax scrolling. It has multi-planed scrolling where essentially you have different sections of the screen. The hardware treats it as different sections of the screen. And so you have different backgrounds moving at different paces because the game effectively kind of renders the independently moving parts as separate levels or something like that. I'm not a fucking graphics doctor. These crows here with the giant beaks that you can steal and use as swords, you can get one-ups out of if you hit them enough. But you also have to be careful because if you let them get too close to your little lifeline there, they'd clip it and you die, and that's no good. This level, another thing about this game, another positive point about this game, is that it does have a good amount of variety. For example, this level, I'm pretty sure, is the only level, the only like drop-down, vertically scrolling level like this in the whole game. And it's also the only level where you can, you know, do the fucking wrecking ball special move. There are a lot of kind of context, like semi-context sensitive actions that you can perform in this game, such as turning into a wrecking ball if you hold against the walls on this chasm here. There are certain moves that you can do in certain points against certain enemies or whatever, and that's pretty neat. Of course, because you're a toad, you eat flies to get your life back. And those are the Saturn toad traps instead of a Venus fly trap, because they're clever. For those of you unaware of Rare's history, they are a British, UK-based company. Game developer, started in the 80s making computer games. And they were actually started by a couple of brothers called the Stamper Brothers, who are no longer with them. They left in the late 90s or early 2000s, around the time that Nintendo and Rare parted ways.
It's Jeff's video game review!
Okay, last week Harley and I reviewed Ultra Enviroman.
Whack to the curb.
It has got to go. So today, we're gonna take a look at Battletoads.
Rocky!
That it is, I mean, they got Psycho Pigs and Turbo Thwacking.
And with kick fighting, surfing, babe saving,
How can you go wrong? Your kid's a freak for Battletoads and these other games from Tradewest. Nintendo Entertainment or Game Boy systems required.
So coming up here, this is the chasm. This is level 3, and this level is infamous for the specific reason that most players who've ever played this game don't make it past level 3. And you'll find out why if you don't already know in a little bit. Now, coming back around to a negative point about this game, I have edited out me fucking up. That's a little Easter egg. Those are Space Invaders from the Midway Arcade Classic Space Invaders. Or actually, it was published by Midway in the US. It was developed by Taito. One of the negative points of this game, in fact, the biggest negative point, isn't even the fact that it's hard. Part of the reason that it's hard is because as I said before, the controls and in-game mechanics are not great. For example, it is super easy when you're jumping across these chasms from platform to platform, from space to space, in this level specifically. If you don't line up right, if you're running on the wrong plane, and you try to make a jump that you think should land, and by all rights you should land, you will fall right through the fucking floor. So this is why most people can't get very far in this game and can't pass this stage. This is the Turbo Tunnel, as people also call it, and this is one of many not really racing, but kind of like high-speed, auto-scrolling obstacle course sections that you find in this game. This is the most famous because it is arguably the hardest, although there is one late in the game that I would say is actually harder, because you have a giant glowing disc chasing you through an entire stage that's like a maze, and you have to press directions at pinpoint accuracy. This is fucked up because you have, as you can see, these giant slabs that come at you, and they only give you about 1 second, 1.5 seconds to notice that they're there. You do not want to jump when you see those blue-green platforms, or slabs, whatever, because they're higher up. You actually just want to go forward. It's kind of tricking you, you know? They train you to want to jump, but then when you see those, except for that, you do jump. You don't want to jump. Here's some fucking rats dropping platforms. And the trick with those little ramps in this stage is that you think, except for the green ones that are in the air, for the normal ones, you think that you want to hit the jump button when you get to them, but that's not true at all. If you do that, you won't go far enough usually, and you will fall in the fucking pit. You actually want to slow down a little bit as you're approaching them, and then speed up at the last second into them. You speed up into the ramp, and that's all you do is just hold forward, and you speed up into the ramp, and when you do that, it just kind of rockets you, as you can see. And I fucking died. That's an example of falling through the floor. Yeah, this is also fucked coming up here. See? Falling through the floor is easy, even on the race part, because this game is not super well designed in the mechanics department and the controls department. If you can get past this part, there's a part coming up past the ramps where there's a little section where you have to do manual jumping across platforms, which, considering, as you've seen, you can very easily fall through the floor if you're not in the exact right pixel frame. It's hard. It's harder than it should be to make it across, manually jumping over these little islands here, as you can see, and it can get very frustrating. I did eventually beat this as a kid, but you can bet your last dollar that it pissed the fuck out of me. I got really mad, I got really frustrated, and gave up a lot. I actually did beat Battletoads as a kid, although I'm going to guess that I probably did so with the assistance of Game Genie. I would be very surprised if I managed to beat the entire game without, because it is very hard. Beyond this level, there are other stages much harder than this, honestly. This turbo tunnel is infamous, but while it is very fucked up, especially because of that kind of bullshit, gotta continue. As I was saying, even though it is fucked up, if you play it a lot, you know, you get used to where everything is, which is kind of how you have to do it, by trial and error. You have to learn all of the little patterns, all of the little things in this obstacle course that you have to do. For each little section, there's some new fucked up thing that you have to contend with, and once you get used to those and kind of learn what you have to do and kind of memorize the maze, so to speak, you can make it to the end. It is hard. I will not say the turbo tunnel isn't hard. I will just say that it's not impossible. It is possible to learn it and get used to it. Now, what I will say is that it is next to impossible to beat the Turbo Tunnel playing 2-player co-op. But that is kind of just a statement on the entire game, because here's a spoiler, here's a little fun fact about Battletoads. It is a 2-player co-op game, and they want it to be a 2-player co-op beat-em-up. However, because of the wonky game physics and controls, platforming parts, etc., it is very hard to play 2-player. Shit! Yeah! No! It's very hard to play 2-player because of that. And so, especially on something like this, man, I'm sure people have done it. I'm sure someone on YouTube can do this fucking sync, but it's got to be like a fucking Olympic event, like synchronized turbo tunneling, you know? Because the only way I could see being able to do a 2-player is if both players are on the fucking exact same page mentally. They're hella focused, shit, and they just do every movement synchronized together perfectly. That's the only way that I could see people doing that. And that goes for... Fuck. That goes for every obstacle course racing part in the game. Honestly. I have heard that it is actually impossible to beat the game 2-player. Like, I don't know if there's a game-breaking glitch or something, but I have heard that it is impossible to beat the game 2 players. I don't know that that's true. I don't have 100% verification of that, but that is something that people say. Fuck! Okay, alright, okay. Next save point. Every time you hit one of those limbo bars, that's a save point. And I'm gonna die here probably at some point, so you'll see this again. If you didn't know, never mind. Never mind. That was it. That was actually the entire level. That was the entire turbo tunnel. You just saw it for yourself. It actually ends very abruptly, as you can see. There's no level boss or anything. So, if you blink or you miss it, there was a spot in that last super fast, super fucked up little bit where you have to... The only way that you can beat that last part is to kind of stay in the middle of the stage, the middle of the track, so to speak, and just barely press up and down, up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, as you barely have time to see these slabs coming up, down, up, down, up, down. And I think that one of the very last one might even be like in the middle, which is even more fucked up, because you're so used to going up or down. But you know, it is beatable. The turbo tunnel's doable. There was, in that part, there's a little sparkly that if you hit it, if you see it in the split second that you have to notice it, you fucking, like, it's a warp. I don't remember how far ahead of the game it warps you, but there is a warp in that turbo tunnel. It's just really hard. Because, you know, you learn that you want to avoid those slabs at all costs, and then they put the warp in front of one of the slabs. So you have to think you're going to hit it to get the warp. But anyways, there's me beating the turbo tunnel with the help of some editing, because yes, I did die a lot more than you saw. But I just wanted to show people what it looks like, the whole thing, and what it looks like to beat it. I like this game in general, and I have fond memories of it, just because it was a game I owned as a kid, and I liked the concept. I thought that the characters were cool. It was an attempt by Tradewest and Rare, well, Tradewest, the publisher mainly, to try and, like, create their own Ninja Turtles type of thing, which they weren't alone in. Many people tried to make their own Ninja Turtles to get a piece of that pie. And there was actually going to be a cartoon. There's a 1-episode pilot episode that you can find on YouTube or wherever, I'm sure, that wasn't great. I actually saw it when it aired live, and I was all excited, and then the cartoon wasn't great. I was disappointed, and it wasn't surprising that they didn't pick it up for an entire show. I don't know that there were any Battletoads toys, but I'm sure there would have been if the cartoon had been a hit. The game, however, apparently sold enough to make sequels, because there was Battletoads Double Dragon, which was super exciting to me as a kid, and was a big deal when it came out. It released on NES, which is what I played it on, but it also came out on Super NES and Sega Genesis. And Battletoads Double Dragon was a big deal because it was one of, if not the very first major, like, franchise crossover type game. Like a Street Fighter cross Tekken or some shit like that. Like that, this is back in the early 90s that happened, like 93 or whatever. And I remember renting it. I didn't own it. I wish I had owned it, because honestly, in many ways, Battletoads Double Dragon's a better game. And the main reason for that is that they fixed the shit that made Battletoads, insanely, hair-pullingly hard. They designed the levels to not have anywhere near as much, like, I would say barely any, honestly, platforming parts. So they took the crappy platforming out, which was the most difficult thing about the game. And they made the game function better as a co-op beat-em-up, which it's supposed to be. And it was cool because you could actually pick between all 3 Battletoads, including Pimple, and Billy and Jimmy Lee from Double Dragon. And of course, Billy and Jimmy Lee, like, all 3 Battletoads basically had the exact same moves, and then Billy and Jimmy had the exact same moves, but the Double Dragons had different moves from the Toads, and it had a nice cross-section of enemies and bosses from both series. It was really fun. Like, the story was whatever, but it was a good game, and I still actually need to own it. But even after Battletoads Double Dragon, there was actually a couple of Game Boy games, one of which was just a port of the NES game, but there was another one that was just called Battletoads, that you played Pimple. So there was an exclusive Game Boy game where you got to play Pimple single player. There was also Battletoads in Battle Maniacs on Super Nintendo, which I'm not a huge fan of, but some people like it. There was a port of the NES game on Sega Genesis, which has somewhat better graphics, but I prefer the NES sound. And then, last but not least, the last real Battletoads game to ever come out was the arcade game, which was developed by Rare. It was a mid-90s game, I don't know, like 94, 95. It was never ported to anything, which is stupid. It should have come out on Super Nintendo or something. And because it was the arcade, I guess, it was more like PG-13, in a way. It had blood, and it was a little more, fucked up, I guess. You could play Pimple. You could play all 3 Toads in the arcade game. I don't remember off the top of my head whether they had different moves, but it was still, it was a decent beat-em-up. It was a weird beat-em-up. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was decent. And again, it focused purely on the beat-em-up aspect and didn't have bullshit, you could fall through the floor if you're not in the exact right pixel space platforming going on. But as for Battletoads itself, as for this original classic game, I think that it's a decent game. I would almost call it a good game if it wasn't for shit like being able to fall through the floor on accident. It had a lot of good ideas. It was Rare kind of firing it on all cylinders at the time. It showed a spark of creativity that they would show later on with Super NES hits like Donkey Kong Country, or the fighting game Killer Instinct, or N64 games like Banjo-Kazooie or Jet Force Gemini. I would suggest trying it, although I'll warn you that you will get pissed off. You may rage quit, you may get frustrated and give up. But it's definitely worth experiencing, even if you have to do so looking up some Game Genie codes or something. Like, it's worth a look for all the good ideas it has. As a last little tidbit, I can name a couple of these characters. The fat rat with the mohawk up there, to the Dark Queen's immediate right, is named Boss Blag, I think. And the giant robot with the tendrils is named Robo Manus. And I honestly don't remember all the little fucking pigs and rats names, but yep. So that's Battletoads. It is definitely a 90s game. It is a product of the 90s. And it deserves its place in history for being hard and fucked up, but it also deserves its place in history as an earnest attempt at making something, you know, yeah, they were trying to cash in on the Ninja Turtles craze, but it was also a slight attempt at something fresh and creative. And it's definitely a memorable game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. So until next time, keep on toadin'.
Now we're super dogs, works and all. We were strange, but now we're strangers, and we're facing up to danger. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Bow, bow.